There's no activity that's going to make a woman look like a man unless you do something to your endocrine system, meaning if you inject steroids into your body.
No woman naturally turns into a man by just lifting weights. That only happens when hormones are altered. Steroids do more than just build muscle. They change voices, facial features, and even internal organs.
What are you taking? I have no idea what the second one is.
I just take tests in GH.
I'm taking GH.
Some women use them to chase strength, but in the end, the drugs took over. These are the stories of 13 women whose lives changed completely after steroids took control. Nicole Bass, the beast who broke herself. Nicole Bass was never an average athlete. She could lift more than most men and barely blink doing it. Her size was the kind that made people stop and stare. Nicole began bodybuilding in 1985, and in only a few years, she was transforming into something people had never seen before. Nicole did not just enter the spotlight. She stormed into it. By 1998, when she joined professional wrestling, she looked like a human sculpture carved out of pure granite. Her muscles were massive, and her body was lined with deep cuts of definition. That kind of sharpness only comes from insane levels of training. But Nicole was not just training hard and eating clean. She was also taking anabolic steroids. These drugs mimic testosterone, and they help build muscle faster than anything else. The results were impressive, but they came with a price. Nicole's body started to change in ways that had nothing to do with the gym. Her jaw grew broader. Her voice dropped in tone. Her entire look began shifting into something much more masculine. These are called androgenic effects. And once they appear, they often never go away. By the 2000s, the same body that once looked invincible started falling apart. In 2006, Nicole was rushed to the hospital with pancreatitis. That is an inflammation of the pancreas, and it is both painful and dangerous. Steroid use is a common cause. The hits kept coming. Years later, Nicole suffered a stroke. Not long after, she had a heart attack. Her body was now crumbling from the inside. It was heartbreaking. She had spent her life building herself into a powerhouse. But now, the very thing that helped her rise was tearing her down. Nicole's story ends in tragedy. What started as a hunger for strength became a slow and painful collapse of health and life. But her story is only the beginning. The next story follows one of the most famous female wrestlers of all time and shows how even strength cannot protect you from heartbreak. Chyna, the fall of a wrestling icon. Chyna, born Joan Laurer, was not just a wrestler. She was a force of nature. She stood 5'8" and weighed over 200 pounds. In the late 1990s, she walked into a male-dominated world and changed the rules. She did not just compete against men. She beat them, she lifted them over her head like they were made of paper. And she did it all on the biggest stages in wrestling. Chyna called herself the ninth wonder of the world. And honestly, it made sense. No one had ever seen anything like her before. But with fame came questions. Chyna always denied using steroids. Even so, her muscular build and deep voice led to constant rumors. Steroids can do more than grow muscles. They can change the shape of the face. They can alter the voice. They can throw off the natural rhythm of your body. People whispered and speculated. Many believed her transformation was not just from lifting. Soon, Chyna's personal life started to unravel just as fast as her fame rose. Chyna was in a relationship with Triple H, one of wrestling's biggest stars, but everything shattered when she found out he was cheating on her with the daughter of the company's boss. Chyna confronted the company, expecting honesty or maybe even justice. But what she got was silence. And then she was fired. Just like that, her career was over. No warning, no explanation, no second chance. Without wrestling, China lost more than a job. She lost her identity. She stopped training. Her muscles shrank. The body that had made her famous became a painful reminder of what was gone. She struggled with addiction and depression. Her appearance, once iconic, now brought her sorrow. In 2016, China sadly passed away from an overdose. Her tragic story proved something many people forget. Even the strongest bodies can break when the heart and mind are left unprotected. In the next story, we meet a woman who was punished not for doing anything wrong, but simply for looking too strong. Irene Anderson, muscle profiling in Sweden. Irene Anderson was not hiding anything. She was not breaking the law. She was a professional bodybuilder. She stood 5'7" and weighed 185 pounds of solid, well-earned muscle. Every inch of her body told a story of discipline, hard work, and sacrifice. But in Sweden, that was not enough. Her appearance alone made her a suspect. In 2009, Irene was stopped by police under a law called muscle profiling. This law gives Swedish police the right to search any bodybuilder they think might be using steroids. They do not need evidence. They do not need a warrant. Just a suspicion based on how someone looks. Irene had never been caught using drugs. She was stopped simply because she looked strong. And then, something shocking happened. During the search, police found a small amount of anabolic steroids. Irene was fined only $89, but the real cost was not financial, it was personal. In bodybuilding, image means everything. Sponsors and fans often prefer athletes who are seen as clean and natural. That one incident changed how people viewed Irene forever. Her reputation was damaged beyond repair. This story shows that steroids do not just come with health risks. They bring legal consequences and social consequences too. Even the appearance of using them can destroy a career. Irene worked for years to build her body, but in a single moment, her world crumbled. Next, we look at a champion who was not punished by the law, but by the sport itself. She was forced to become smaller just because she became too big. Kim Thundra Chizevsky, too strong for the system. Kim Chizevsky was a legend in the making. She started her bodybuilding career in 1989, and by the mid-1990s, she was nearly unstoppable. By 1996, Kim weighed 157 pounds of pure, defined muscle. Her legs were so massive and strong that fans called her Thundra. She was not just a winner. She was a redefining force in the sport. But her success soon ran into a wall. The sport that had once celebrated her size and strength started changing its rules. In 2000, something unexpected happened. Judges would now score women not only on muscle and definition, but also on femininity. They were told to look softer, prettier, and more traditionally attractive. Suddenly, makeup and styled hair mattered just as much as biceps and symmetry. This was not about fairness, it was about control. Kim was told that to stay in the game, she had to shrink. She had to reduce her muscle mass. It was not just frustrating, it was deeply disheartening. While male bodybuilders were praised for getting bigger, female bodybuilders were now being told they were too much. They were being asked to be less. Kim's story revealed a painful truth. Steroids had helped her reach a level of strength that no one expected. But once she got there, the very system that cheered her on told her she had gone too far. Her size, once her biggest strength, became her disqualification. As Kim stepped away from bodybuilding, someone new was preparing to take the stage. This next woman brought something entirely different. Her secret weapon was not just strength, it was relentless, ice-cold discipline. Renee Campbell, ice-cold discipline.
I'm ready, pleased. I'm ready, pleased. Put on some good muscle, and the definition is coming through already.
Renee Campbell did not rely on luck or natural talent. She built her body on strict discipline. For nearly 10 years, she followed the exact same eating plan without ever taking a single cheat day. Every 3 hours, day and night, she ate a meal of chicken, rice, eggs, and cabbage. Often the food was cold, but she never cared. She believed success meant sacrifice. At her peak, Renee weighed 200 pounds. Her back measured 47 inches wide. To maintain her size, she ate more than 5,000 calories every day. When she went to restaurants, she brought a digital food scale to measure each portion. To most people, this would seem extreme. But for Renee, this was simply required. Her method paid off. In 2019, she became a world champion and earned her pro status in bodybuilding. But it raised a question. Was it really worth it? Renee gave up comfort. She gave up nights out and every small indulgence. Her life was ruled by structure and control. She barely had a social life. Her entire world revolved around her discipline. There were also quiet questions about her transformation. Renee never admitted to using steroids, but her dramatic physical changes, extremely low body fat, and deep muscle definition made people wonder. Even if her path was completely natural, the lifestyle she chose was not, and it might still come back to haunt her someday. Renee's story is not only about muscle, it is about the cost of obsession. But while Renee chose pain willingly, the next woman had it forced upon her by tragedy. Colette Guimond, built from pain. Colette Guimond was only 5 feet and 1 inch tall. But when she walked into a room, people didn't just notice. They stared. With a jaw-dropping 150 pounds of pure muscle stacked on her tiny frame, she looked like she could deadlift a bus without breaking a sweat. Her rise in the bodybuilding world was like a rocket launch. Fast, loud, and hard to miss. But in 1997, everything came crashing down. Colette was involved in a devastating accident that nearly ended her life. Her body was shattered. Her perfect symmetry vanished. Her muscles, once balanced like a Michelangelo sculpture, became uneven. Most people would have packed it up right there and retired to a life of yoga and green smoothies. But not Colette. She went the other way. She hit the gas harder. After 9 surgeries, Colette came back fiercer than ever. It was like she told pain to sit down and shut up. By 2005, she muscled her way to win Canada's heavyweight championship. And she didn't stop there. By 2018, Colette bulked up to a whopping 175 pounds. Her legs got so big that jeans became a distant memory. She had to rely on stretchy leggings like most people rely on coffee. People were stunned. Her transformation was so extreme that whispers of steroids turned into full-blown debates. Her muscles looked like they were carved by a mad scientist. Colette never really confirmed what she used, but let's just say her biceps didn't grow on broccoli alone. Colette's story is one of raw, relentless resilience. But it's also a bit of a cautionary tale. She pushed her body to the edge, and maybe even a little past it. Her strength came from pain. Her power was undeniable. But with great size came great suspicion. Just as Colette battled symmetry and surgery, another woman was entering the ring to wrestle with the impossible beauty standards of the internet. Diana Cadeau, from muscle queen to digital doll. Diana Cadeau was not just strong. She was elegant, poised, and so stylish that she looked like she could do curls with diamonds. She stepped onto the bodybuilding stage in 1992 and quickly earned a reputation as both a powerhouse and a fashion icon. In 2004, she claimed the Miss Olympia lightweight title while weighing just 127 pounds. Her physique was dense, symmetrical, and the kind of beautiful that made judges do double takes. Of course, whispers started flying. People speculated about steroids like they were talking about celebrity gossip. Her muscles were just too perfect. Her condition was so elite, it seemed otherworldly. But Diana insisted it was all hard work and top-tier genetics. Still, some signs started showing. There were tiny facial changes and that telltale look that made experts raise their eyebrows. The kind of look that said, maybe Mother Nature had a little chemical help. Then came the plot twist. Diana's Instagram started looking like a fashion magazine had swallowed a fitness model. Her waist got impossibly tiny. Her curves went full cartoon mode. Her skin looked smoother than a glazed donut. But the muscles were soft, filtered, and almost dreamy. Fans started doing side-by-side comparisons like they were solving a true crime case. Diana had traded dumbbells for digital filters. In a world where muscles used to speak louder than lipstick, now it was all about aesthetics. Diana became a symbol of the new age of female athletes, one where strength was still admired, but beauty, femininity, and social media likes were suddenly part of the scorecard. Her journey shows us something wild. You can conquer the bodybuilding world, but if you don't fit the online fantasy, you might end up altering your reflection just to keep up. And now, let's meet a woman who didn't care about filters or subtlety. She brought the thunder and wore her size like armor. Renee Toney, the woman with 20-inch biceps. Renee Toney did not always look like she could bench press a rhinoceros. Once upon a time, she was just another athletic young woman. But then something happened. By the early 2000s, Renee transformed into one of the most muscular women the planet had ever seen. Standing at 5 feet 8 and weighing in at 214 pounds, she looked like she could punch a tank into submission. Her muscles were thick, veiny, and as dramatic as a soap opera. But the real showstopper was her arms. Renee's biceps were legendary. We are talking 20 inches on one side and a jaw-dropping 20.25 on the other. And here's the kicker. Renee did not pretend she got those biceps by eating kale and whispering affirmations to her dumbbells. She openly admitted to using anabolic steroids. No secrets, no sugarcoating, just the truth, served with a side of heavy lifting. The results were incredible, but came with a hefty price tag. Her jawline sharpened. Renee's voice deepened to the point where you'd wonder if Barry White was doing the narration. Some people praised her as a pioneer. Others clutched their pearls and said she had gone too far. But nobody ignored her. Renee turned heads everywhere she went. She was both admired and criticized, often in the same breath. Her record for the biggest female biceps still stands. And let's be honest, it is probably going to stand for a long time, unless someone decides to train inside a volcano. Renee's story is about choosing power over approval. She knew the risks. She made her choice. And the world watched in awe. The next woman we are about to meet had it all: youth, muscle, and talent. But she paid the ultimate price when her body finally said, "That's enough." Joanna Thomas, from prodigy to pain. Joanna Thomas was a teenage powerhouse. By 21, she had already earned her pro card, making her the youngest professional female bodybuilder in British history. Joanna was like a muscle-packed comet blazing across the sky and impossible to ignore. Her body was compact, ripped, and sculpted with surgical precision. She trained like a beast. Joanna got massages so painful they made grown men wince. These weren't spa treatments. These were muscle-tearing, cry-into-a-towel recovery sessions meant to trigger growth. While Joanna never publicly confirmed steroid use, the industry whispers were more like shouts. Her rapid development and sheer muscle density had anabolic enhancement written all over it. And in a sport where everyone's chasing the next level, many believed she had joined the chemical arms race to stay ahead. But then, the toll started to show. By 2019, Joanna had developed early-onset osteoarthritis in both knees. The condition was so severe that she could no longer train. Her once strong body had become fragile. Without the ability to exercise, she lost her mobility, her strength, and her sense of identity. In April 2020, Joanna passed away in her home. She was only 43 years old. Her death shocked fans around the world. Many saw it as a warning about the long-term effects of pushing the body too far. Joanna's story is not just about early success. It is about what happens when your body becomes your career, and how it feels when that body breaks down before its time. But even before Joanna, another woman was already making waves. Her strength was unmatched, but so was the criticism she faced for being too muscular. Bev Francis, strength against the standard. Bev Francis was born in 1955 in the coastal town of Geelong, Australia. As a child, she danced ballet with poise, swam competitively with speed, played football like she owned the field, and absolutely crushed it in track and field. But all of that was just a warm-up. Bev's true calling was lifting things most people could barely roll across the floor. She was a natural-born powerhouse, with a physique that defied the norms and a mindset that ignored them completely. Bev went on to become a 6-time world powerlifting champion. She built a body that was not just strong, but intimidatingly strong. We're talking raw power, dense muscle, and explosive force. In 1983, Bev stormed into mainstream attention when she appeared in the documentary Pumping Iron 2, The Women. And let's just say, jaws dropped. Her body was massive. She looked more like a heavyweight male bodybuilder than the type of toned fitness models people were used to seeing on glossy magazine covers. Some fans were in awe, but others weren't so impressed. Critics started whispering that Bev looked too masculine. Rumors swirled about steroid use. Bev never admitted to it, but her shockingly developed muscle mass and deepened voice made the whispers sound a lot like truth to many. And the consequences were fast and furious. Judges began scoring Bev lower in competitions, not because she lacked muscle, but because, ironically, she had way too much of it. Trying to meet the impossible standards of the sport, Bev made changes. She underwent facial surgeries to appear more feminine, including reshaping her nose. She even reduced her muscle size, unbuilding the very body she had worked so hard to create. It was a cruel contradiction. She had once been praised for her strength and then punished for having too much of it. Still, Bev didn't quit. In 1987, she won the World Championship. She found a way to balance power with symmetry, without completely shrinking into the mold. Her story was ahead of its time, and just when you thought Bev had pushed the limits, along came someone else from Russia who kicked that limit straight through the wall. Natalia Kuznetsova, Russia's muscle giant. Natalia Kuznetsova's story is what happens when you tell someone the sky is the limit, and they decide to prove just that. Born and raised in Russia, Natalia grew into one of the most extreme female bodybuilders the sport had ever seen. Calling her physique impressive is like calling a hurricane windy. At 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighing 225 pounds, she was pure muscle, packed onto a frame that looked like it came from a comic book, not real life. Natalia's arms measured an eye-popping 19 inches in diameter. Her thighs were a whopping 29 inches around. Those are numbers that make even elite male bodybuilders do a double take. And Natalia wasn't hiding anything either. She openly admitted to using anabolic steroids before competitions. She treated the subject like just another training tool. To her, these substances helped speed up muscle growth, maintain size during brutal pre-show dieting, and gave her the power to lift like she could. And lift she did. Natalia set multiple world records, including a jaw-dropping 375-pound bench press and a monster 530-pound deadlift. That is elite-level territory, not just for women, but for almost anyone. But the chemical edge came with obvious side effects. Her voice dropped to a much deeper tone. Her jawline thickened. Her body fat vanished into oblivion, leaving veins and muscle fibers that made anatomy textbooks look under-detailed. Of course, not everyone clapped. Many criticized her for looking too masculine. But Natalia didn't flinch. She embraced every consequence, every side effect. To her, it was just the cost of doing business in the world of extreme strength. She had pushed her body into uncharted territory and made it her home. Natalia became a global phenomenon. In Russia and beyond, her image sparked fierce debates. Could a woman be this muscular and still be considered feminine? Did it even matter? Natalia didn't care. She wasn't trying to fit into a box. She was busy breaking the box entirely. But just when the world thought it had seen everything, another woman stepped into the spotlight. She came not from the land of bears and barbells, but from the beauty-obsessed streets of Seoul. And she didn't just challenge the standard. She shattered it with a flex. Yeon Woo-ji, breaking beauty in South Korea. Yeon Woo-ji did not start her journey with bulging biceps or intimidating quads. She began as a slim, 105-pound woman in South Korea, a country where the ideal female body usually resembles a delicate flower rather than a tank. But Yeon was not interested in being a flower. She wanted to be a force of nature. Over time, and with the kind of discipline that makes most gym rats cry, she packed on nearly 50 pounds of pure muscle. Her final form was a 154-pound powerhouse. Her transformation was not subtle. It was bold, brash, and absolutely impossible to ignore. Yeon's rise was quick. She placed in the top 5 at the IFBB Vancouver Pro and New York Pro competitions, where the standards are brutal and the competition is fierce. But her moment of true fame came in 2016, when she walked onto the stage of the Korean variety show Star King. The audience gasped, and not in a polite way. Her deepened voice, broad shoulders, and sheer physical presence clashed with every expectation of what a Korean woman should look like. Though Yeon never admitted to using steroids, the signs were hard to ignore. The rapid gain in muscle mass, the razor-sharp definition, the change in voice, all pointed to possible chemical help. Today, in South Korea, the reactions to Yeon's look are mixed. And by mixed, we mean everything from hero worship to total shock. Some admire her for defying tradition. Others accuse her of throwing away femininity like it was an old pair of shoes. But Yeon wasn't trying to please anyone. She was building the version of herself that felt powerful. And in doing so, she made space for others to rethink what beauty can look like. She may have lost favor in some circles, but she found something better. She found pride, and she held onto it like a championship trophy. Then, just when people thought they had seen everything the sport had to offer, another woman entered the scene. This time, from Slovenia. And she didn't get disqualified for cheating. she got disqualified for having the nerve to be too muscular. Brigita Brezovac, disqualified for strength. Brigita Brezovac grew up in Slovenia with a childhood dream that was anything but ordinary. At 14 years old, she came across a photo of legendary German bodybuilder Anja Langer. Most girls might have looked at that image and thought, "Interesting." Brigita looked at it and said, "Yes, I want to be that strong." Brigita then dove into fitness training with the kind of intensity most people reserve for final exams or fire drills. Her hard work quickly paid off. She entered competitions and made a name for herself in fitness circles. But then came 2004, and a moment that flipped her world upside down. At the World Fitness Championships, Brigita was disqualified. Not for doping, not for breaking any rules. Her only crime was looking too muscular. That's right. She trained too hard, looked too strong, and was told she didn't fit the mold. It was like telling a race car it's too fast for the track. But instead of quitting, Brigita doubled down. She left fitness behind and went full throttle into hardcore bodybuilding. Her body evolved from a sleek 116 pounds to a rock-solid 143 pounds of pure muscle. She trained like a beast and competed like a legend. Brigita went on to win 3 IFBB Pro titles and regularly placed in the top 5 at major international competitions. Her presence on stage was electric. Every muscle was carved with precision. Her performance was pure dominance. Of course, critics had their say. Many speculated about steroid use, pointing to her rapid transformation and impressive definition as evidence. These 13 captivating stories reveal the true cost of chasing extreme strength. Behind every transformation lies a choice, and behind every gain, a consequence. For some, steroids unlocked power. For others, they led to pain, loss, or regret. In the end, the hardest battle was never physical, it was personal. What do you think about these women? Comment down below.